Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 507, and today we're doing battle in an eternal best of 3 gauntlet. And so I almost missed it again. I always have the best of intentions to put out a thoughts and feels on best of 3 video the day before the open gets here, and I almost missed it again. I got my days mixed up, but hey, here we are. I did it right, I did it good. We're going to be out here and talking about the best of 3 format. And so, as I always say at the beginning of my best of 3 videos, if you're only interested in the gameplay, feel free to skip ahead. We're going to be playing Jack's Bone Club, we're going to play Vayne Ornn Bone Club, and we're going to play Ash LeBlanc. And if you're wanting to see any of these decks in a little bit more depth, you can scroll backwards through the channel. We've got Ash LeBlanc maybe 3 or 4 videos ago. Jack's Bone Club was the previous video, and Vayne Ornn is going to be new material, but it's a deck I've fallen in love with super quickly, and we might touch on it after the open because I think it's turning into something special. But nonetheless, looking at this individual best of 3 format, the thing to really call out for it to me is there's no like clear-cut top deck things tons of people are playing, right? There's no Cosmic Call deck running around. There's no Concurrent Timelines decks like we saw dominate some of the past formats, and nothing has really come in to fill the space and just say like, ooh, I'm obnoxious, I'm going to be showing up in full force. And so, this is, reminding me of some of the former Eternal formats to where you just say bring good decks, right? I don't think that the kind of rise of the Noxan Dragon out of the variety patch with Might is something to really worry about in terms of seeing an absolute ton of. I think it's just going to be a super wide open meta, and so bring good decks. If you're looking to really target down the Dragon deck or target down Ezreal or target down whatever, you're just not going to see it in the volume that you need. To make that targeted decision worthwhile. So if you're like, hey, I really think there's got to be a ton of Ezreal, I want to bring a bunch of Stony Suppressor decks, more power to you. You're welcome to do whatever you please, but I would really be surprised if you see more than 4 or 5 Ezreal decks over the course of the day, and then you're playing Stony Suppressors against a bunch of stuff to where it doesn't really have maximum potential. And so, with that in mind, speaking of Ezreal, is the kind of design decision that I've made for our deck today. Not so much in terms of Ezreal's Seraphine, but I want our units and our decks to be good against PNZ. I feel like that's a safe enough blanket statement to say, and something that we can really look to pull off and expect to see a lot of on the day. And so things like Nyla Twisted Fate, things like the various flavors of Seraphine, things like the various flavors of Janna, these decks are all kind of exploitable in the same ways, given that their removal spells are pretty similar across the board, and their defensive measures are pretty similar across the board, in that they're going to be bringing small damage-based removal, things like Mystic Shot, High Notes, 1 and 2, and maybe 3 damage pings like an Aftershock, and then they're going to try and stop your aggression with unit walls, and so they'll put down Explorers, they'll put down Windborne Mariners, whatever it is, they're just going to put shitty units on the board to block with and try and stop your biggest unit, and then they're going to have a bunch of burn spells. And so what I like about what we're bringing today and what I'm trying to kind of attack this with is going to be, meaty units, just units that have 3+ health, stat boosted units, whether or not that is using forges or using equipment or using things like Omen Hawk, units with tough. And so we have a few of those across the board, like the Steadfast Elkin and then the Overwhelm unit at 2 mana. And then speaking of Overwhelms, that's how we're going to attack that unit wall. And so we're looking to have a bunch of Overwhelm units across the board. And as we pull up the deck list, that's what you're going to see. We have a lot of stat boosting efforts. We have a lot of Overwhelm units. We have a lot of units that can survive a Mystic Shot. We have a lot of units with tough. And so that is the kind of key idea between these decks. It's in the space of hopefully we can be strong into these Janna decks. We should have enough early game strength to do battle against stuff like Annie Jin and do battle against stuff like tokens. And then as we have to face the more kind of like mid-range killers of the format, things like Thresh and Nasus, then hopefully we just have the high-powered strength that you need to fight through, and you're able to just take care of the damage stuff before Nasus comes in and just domes you for 15. And so I think that that's a fair strategy to take into this format. We aren't targeting any direct deck list. We're targeting a theme that we think is going to be popular, and we've really designed our lineup around that. And so to pull up the decks that we're going to be playing, first and foremost, we have Ashe LeBlanc. And as I'll say with Ashe LeBlanc, I am like 50 to 75% certain that I want to play this, and that number is dropping. As I get more and more and more in tune with these Bone Club, Wildclaw, Ferocity-based decks, I'm getting more and more interested in playing Blue Gwen. Blue Gwen with Gwen Sejuani. It also can do the Bone Club thing with the Battle Furies and the Wildclaw Ferocities. Gwen certainly loves to have a Bone Club attached to her in terms of helping her flip. It's a very real deck in terms of the strategy that we're trying to pull off. And so I haven't quite decided. I'm, like 50% certain I want to play Ashe LeBlanc, like 25% certain and rising I want to play Blue Gwen. And then that last 25% is I kind of feel like there might be a LeBlanc Freylord deck that doesn't involve Ashe that does play Bone Club, Wildclaw, Ferocity. And so I'm piecing that one and the Nugget piece still a little bit more. But as for this event right now, Ashe LeBlanc is the safe choice. And so, as it stands, it follows a lot of that same mantra that we were talking about. The Omen Hawks and the Darkened Spears help our units grow. We have the big overwhelms with things like Saurion and Ancient Yeti, and then we can still attack through those big boards of opposing units. And so it's a fair strategy. It really ties into what we're trying to do. And the thing that I kind of like about having Ashe LeBlanc in comparison to the other two decks is it gives us a little bit more flexibility in the sense that the Bone Club decks are trying to do Bone Club things. And so if your opponent has a lineup that's very good against Bone Club and you're bringing 2 and 3 Bone Club decks, then they should be pretty good against that. But if you have the kind of similar ideas between unit buffs and overwhelms, but a variety of strategies to where one is maybe a go tall deck, one is maybe an overwhelms deck, maybe one's a rally deck, then you can kind of fight that differently. And so that's what I kind of have in my headpiece about Ashe LeBlanc, is it does things a little bit differently. But again, I'm not completely sold on this being what we play, but it's a fairly safe and a fairly strong deck. Up number 2 is Jack's Bone Club. This is a deck we featured in our previous video. It looks to use Bone Clubs and Wildclaw's Ferocities to level up our Jacks, and then you can use the Wildclaw's Ferocity to just get the big overwhelm attacks in at the end of the game, and then you have cards like Sharesies to push the Bone Club back and forth between your various units. It's a very powerful strategy. Again, it has a lot of those ideas we're looking for. We have the unit boosting with the Omen Hawks and the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. It has the tough units and the Ruthless Raiders. It's got overwhelm units all the way across the board. It's got pretty strong defensive measures against burn-based removal spells with things like Sky Splitter and Troll Chant. I'm a big fan of the things that this deck is putting forth. It's very strong against things like Nyla Jana, very strong against things like Seraphine. And so it's if you want to think back to the 2 standard metas ago to where the thing keeping Nyla Jana in check was the big overwhelms coming out of Warden of the Tribes, that's the kind of thing that this deck is able to do. And so in the same vein, moving on to Vayne Ornn, this is the deck, has the same kind of ideas and combos into it with the Bone Club, Wildclaw's Ferocity, but this one is able to attack a little bit differently. The things that I like about this, it has the full 9 1-drops to it, so we can generate a lot of these draws to where we have a 1-drop into a Darkened Spear or a 1-drop into a pass into a Bone Club, really come in and start activating all of those abilities. I do like that the Wildclaw's Ferocity and the Bone Club help us level up our Ornn. Another fantastic way to get the big overwhelm attacks in at the end of the game. The Bone Club's also playing fantastically with the Ranger Knight Defector. But the big thing that the Vayne Ornn deck gets that we don't get out of the Jax deck is Cataclysm. I've loved these Vayne Cataclysm-based decks. You have so many combos that you can pull off with this, whether or not that's attacking with a Naka, getting free attacks, getting the Scout attack off the Ranger Knight Defector, functioning as a rally, just having a big overwhelm attack. So you Wildclaw's Ferocity something with a Bone Club on it, you attack with your 10 power unit, your opponent doesn't die, you then Cataclysm your big overwhelm unit into another unit and finish off the game. It has big combos like that, and then you're also able to just say Cataclysm and Ornn. And so very, very powerful things that can come out of this. I've really grown fond of what this deck is capable of doing. and I'm very excited to be bringing this forward. And so those are the decks. That's what we're doing battle with today. No need to pay the pay-to-win price. We are already all paid up. Let's go ahead and jump on in. The Forge Club, the No Club, the Rico Club. See what we go up to battle against. And so as we do in these best of 3 things, I'm just going to play either 2 or 3 matches today. If we get 2 matches in because we lost 2, then it is what it is, but we're not going to finish the whole gauntlet. They tend to take like 2.5 hours to actually pull off. And so looking at these decks here, I think that everything we have is going to function quite well against Aurelion Soul. Like, I don't think we have to worry about that mid-rangey thing. The thing that gives me any kind of concern in here is tokens with Renekton up against Ashe LeBlanc. Tokens tends to be quite strong there, although I do think we have strong matchups with our other 2 decks. But I think we're just going to take the tokens out and then look to play these mid-rangey matches. And we're going to be going bone clubs across the board today. And so let's kick things off with the Vayne deck. You haven't had a chance to see this one just yet. Hopefully we can bring some excitement with it. Have these new decks coming at you within your day. So as far as this goes, we want our 1-drops and we want our equipment. So we'll hang on to the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. See if we can't pick up a Bone Club, pick up a Darkened Spear. Didn't find anything, but we got some time. Get down here, Apprentice. Make our weapons grow. How do we feel about just trying to trade with this thing right away? I think that's okay, right? This isn't a match to where we're like, oh boy, I have a Steadfast Elkin. It's not going to scale with its tough, right? We're not playing against PNZ, but he can scale up his with an equipment or with a Balin or something, and so I think that's probably a fair trade for us. So now I'm just going to get both apprentices on the board. Ideally, we'll be picking up an equipment here soon. We've got 9 in our deck, right? The 6 equipment with the 3 weapon masters. There we go. Could not care less about that. Now, the problem here is I want to get this spear on board, but these apprentices aren't the greatest target for it. It kind of is what it is. Getting the +2/+2, I don't think we can really pass up on it. But kind of is what it is. Now we have these units that are pretty bad at combating when they don't have the equipment attached. Oh, interesting. A Darkened Spear turning up. So what's the worst thing that he plays this turn? Like, he's not playing Fiora. He has Poppy, which is a bad combat choice. He could drop like a Balin, which is annoying, but fine. My only concern is, like, I have this Cataclysm mana, and I want to Cataclysm a Poppy if he plays it, right? But he only has 1 unit on the board at this point, and so I'm going to say if he plays Poppy, we know we're going to be getting good attacks here, right? Poppy doesn't want to block either of these units. And then if we go into next turn, only poppying 1 unit kind of sucks. And so there is a pretty good chance that he's going to play another unit, and then we can Cataclysm into the Poppy before he gets to attack. She's attacking. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and throw in blocks on both. This Steadfast Elkin is going to do nothing this game, and so I'm fine to go ahead and stack some damage onto the Junior. Interesting here. The Shield of Durandi onto Poppy a little preemptively. Shield of Durandi's onto everybody. Okay. So how do we feel about this? Do we still want to take this Poppy off the board with the Cataclysm? I don't think so. Oh shit, I forgot about the shield. Probably should have. Probably should have. When we had the chance to just send the Ruthless Raider in. Whoops. And J4 comes in? Oh fuck, we're definitely regretting that now. So are we willing to just throw away our whole team? Like, I'm interested in, like, getting the Darkened Spears back so that we can play a Naka, but that's not for 2 more turns, so we can probably just pass. Ugh. That's kind of disaster mode, though. We really threw that one away there. Galio. That was painful. So let's see. We can still potentially take Poppy off of the board. Like, is that how we're ever going to win this game, though? This attack's in the wrong order. He's not going to get the boosted stats off of J4, but I think we want to take these. He's going to get to flip either way. Let's pick the Anaka back up as well. I also want to deal enough damage to where he doesn't get to flip his Galio. Right, he needs 12. We're blocking with 13 now, and he doesn't have any mana. So that should take him below the flip space. Man, that was a bad Cataclysm. I completely forgot about the Shield of Durandi getting that extra heal. That has been a major pain point here. So I'm going to flip around our spears, right? The spear that we have on board doesn't have any stats attached to it. So let's go ahead and put that on our Raider that's on board. And then we don't want the Cataclysm. We want to be able to play... Did I count that fucking wrong? I had 13 on board and he... God damn it. I don't know. Who was really expecting me to do math correctly, I guess. What is this? 11? This is 1727? I was like so certain. I was so certain we put enough stats forward to keep this Galio from flipping. Okay. Oh, we're gonna have to like Anaka into Ornn or something. The chances of this being successful are super low. Into Omen Hawk. Okay, we could have probably should have kicked that off with Cataclysm as well. We could have Cataclysmed our Anaka into his Poppy, but that was brutal. All right, let's take Vayne Ornn out again. We can't have it fall that easily. Can't have it fall like that. But that was a just cascade of problems. Not taking the Poppy off the board, then not being able to attack because the Poppy was on the board, and then things just scaling and scaling and scaling. That was definitely a bad no Cataclysm. Alright, how are we starting though? We don't have any of our cheap plays, but I will hang on to Bone Club. It should be pretty powerful in this match. And now the bird turns up. Perfect. I'm not like excited about going toe-to-toe in stats against dragons, but I think it's going to be okay. Especially if we're able to build up to this Ornn and get a flip in. Draw in the dragons. Sure thing. That's what you like to see. Dragon's Clutch is one of those cards that's just like primed and ready to make a format miserable. Like giving all of your units +1/+1 overwhelm is such an exceptionally powerful ability. It just the dragons aren't quite there to make it pop. There will be a day though when that card is a problem, is a legitimate problem. Alright, so how do we feel about this? Might want to just get the bigger unit on board. Like, his good play for the turn would be something like Shyvana. And we can deal. She's just a 3/4, right? It's been a while. Yeah, she's a 3/4, so we can be bigger than her with the Blacksmith fairly easily. Just leaning towards the Shepherd's Authority, get those extra stats.
We wear red.
Alright. Some dude we don't care about. Got it. It sucks to feel that way about a unit, I guess, but he's not Mr. Relevant at the moment. Alright, the dragons are cheap. See how it goes. Definitely gonna be counting on this Ornn to do some work. And so what you know we'll ideally be pulling off is we're going to want to get a Bone Club copy on Ornn and then Cataclysm him. But we have a touch of time at the moment, like kind of like this, just going ahead and we don't even need to take his dragon off the board, do we? Let's just pass. Like, he's not winning any of these combats. He's just giving us what we wanted anyways. Oh no, we should have put our Vayne on board. Well, I'm not certain we're even gonna... Yeah, we probably should have just done that. She gives us the additional attack with Ornn a few turns down the road. Let's just fix it.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
We made a whoopsies. That sucks. Let's come in and fix it. Bone Club. Do we ever do we ever want to just come in and Bone Club this Vayne right now? Because the thing with next turn is we can't, like, we can Cataclysm Ornn, but we're not going to have the flip on him to get that good unit up and running. We probably just need to be defensive in this space. I can't do it. I don't believe that he can kill us next turn. I don't believe it. And so I'm going to try and go for this Ornn flip. We're going to Bone Club the Vayne. She's going to have infinite stats, and then next turn we'll play Ornn. He'll be flipped, and then 2 turns from now we'll have just like triple attacks with Ornn. This is like a concerted strike onto Vayne. That's completely fine. It's so expensive. Sure. Look at that. Look at that Vampire Slayer. She needs some bonus quotes for this. Oh, I'm not reading all that text. Hang on. Maybe maybe she's got something else on level 2. There we go. Yet even with the power of the arc light moving through her, the darkness threatens to overwhelm the land. Oof. Oof. Preach it.
Swift death.
Is there a world where we just like tumble Vayne a bunch of times next turn? It would be pretty sick if she was got to be flipped. This gets her at 1. She missed seeing an attack on that last turn, then say next turn just Cataclysm tumble for the flip, and then we can play Braum and have, or play Ornn and have free tumbles. Would have been cool.
Look closely at their eyes.
Here they come.
Alright, this game should be done. I'm not certain how he would be able to get out of this Ornn next turn. Like playing units and getting a kill. When this Ornn is getting, I don't know, plus 8. There'll be a 14/14 Ornn. Oh, it won't copy till he attacks, but the same thing applies.
Name's Ornn. No further pleasantries needed.
Alright, ready for combat. That's what you say when you got this giant Ornn, huh? That's what you say. Alright, this is done. Feels good, man. There's not much in the world that makes me feel better than bone clubbing up one of these units. I don't know. I'm a simple man, you know. just I just need a bone club and things turn out okay. What up, bud? You want to hang out? You want to see the bone clubs? We got a kitty over here. Got a kitty over here. Come on, bud. Oh boy, so fat. Here he is. It's Bernard. Say what up, buddy. What up, buddy? Survived another Halloween. The plight of the black kitties, not surviving Halloweens. All right, let's see what we can do here. We got this Bone Club draw. The Ruthless Raider probably not coming down early, but things change. God, your ass stinks, dude. Not good at cleaning his butt zone. Not good at cleaning your butt zone, are you, bud? Still a delightful kitty. So what do we got here? It was like, I really liked how that last game went to where our units were just way bigger than the opponent's units because we have access to Bone Club. I'm curious if we don't want to take that angle here again. Like, it is nice to get the Forge onto Jax and then he's just bigger than all of these units, but like I'm concerned about his ability to survive in here. So let's just, oh, fucking cat landed on my cord. So let's just go for this Bone Club play. Like, the thing with this deck compared to Bone Club stuff in the past is you used to be like, oh, cool, I've got this 7/8 Weaponsmith's Apprentice and the opponent just blocks, right? You never got any kind of positive combats because your opponent just does this, right? They block with the Laurent Duelist, and you have this huge investment in the Weapon Master's Apprentice, and then it just doesn't do anything. But the Wild Claw's Ferocity just turns that around so fast and so easy to where this thing is just a super relevant unit now. Now we're in this space to where, you know, his attack sucks. We can probably get Jax on the board because he's protected by Sky Splitter, but I want to the fuck? I want to have the mana for the Ferocity next turn. So let's see what he does. That was very, very weird. Alright, so Jax is safe now.
This ain't just a lamb.
Are you all ready for this? If you're not familiar with what this deck can do, here it is. Here comes the party. I love this so much. Alright. it's not gonna be a lethal here, but look at that. Look at that stuff. Got this big old Wild Claw rolling through. Got the big Jax ready to party. Battle Fury in hand. I don't know if Rico Rex is happy with life. I don't know if he's a happy person, but he should be. He should be. This is the this is the fucking key right here. Getting these plays going. Alright, I think this one will be done in fairly short order.
This land is ours.
Should be fairly safe. I mean, we have the double Sky Splitter in hand. So if he had a way to challenge Jax with the Cadrigen, we could just double Sky Split and get out of it. Could Sky Split out of this. We have Battle Fury for next turn. The game's just done at this point, but we got all the tools one would need. And he's gonna take the hook onto Wild Claw. Will open attack. Shouldn't be anything that he can do about the open attack, but we have the Battle Fury to play around it.
Leave nothing standing.
And we got it. GG. Well played. On to the next one.
Like burning.
All right, that was a good ship, wasn't it? That was a good ship right there. Whew. Let's do this stuff all day. I wouldn't have imagined if you asked me with the release of the variety patch, Bust, do you think you're going to consider bringing triple Bone Club, triple Wild Claw Ferocity across 3 separate decks into the open? what what is in the pipe that you have been smoking? What? This is where we're at, man. This is where the beliefs are coming in. Who knows? Just having games like those just makes me be like, oh yeah, I just want to edit this Ash LeBlanc. Got to find a way to get free attacks or something. Then we'll be off to the races. Get that. It's like as I think of Noxus, I know that there's Katarina, there's Shunpo, and then there's the guy that lets you. He generates the free attack spell. Like there's a bunch of ways to do it to attack with your big bone clubbed wild claw ferocity unit a bunch of times, but it's like I have to be concerned moving too far away from these weapon based effects and not having access to those. All right, looking at these decks, there is a PNZ based control deck. Fine, we'll do battle with it. In the middle, Elise Noxus is typically an aggro deck. And then at the end, the Zoe Aurelion Soul Volibear thing, I assume that this is a Feel the Rush deck. Now, in terms of ramp decks, I'm much more happy to play against Freylord Targon than I am to play against Freylord Shadow Isles. They just don't have as much good removal outside of the Freylord-based AoEs. But I still think that we can probably tackle Elise. So we're just gonna ban out the ramp deck. Ash LeBlanc into Elise does worry me a little bit, but let's make sure we get one of these matches in, And with this, like I've had fair success with Ash LeBlanc into these PNZ based decks. It's just the thing that really feels kind of upsetting about it is you're trying to pop off with this 2 health champion against a deck full of Mystic shots, and it doesn't strike me as a strategy that should be particularly good. You do have some ways to combat it, right? We have the Elixir of Iron, we have Troll Chance, you can put the Darkened Spear onto LeBlanc and stuff, but it's just like when you sit down and you say, okay, my strategy today is to play against a PNZ based deck with a bunch of Mystic shots, and my strategy also includes LeBlanc. It just feels so awkward. But reasonable enough start. LeBlanc into the Omen Hawk. House Spider, we could have continued to play on curve, but I think this just feels a little better to me to say have the Elixir of Iron protection this round, and then next turn we can play the House Spider, still keep up these protective spells, and then 2 turns from now we can drop Ash and get her going on our next attack token. Thinking on this never block pretty hard. Oh my god, there's the block. What is this, like a Wuju style meditate? Holy shit. He is going in. He says, watch this bust, I am doing it. Well, I think it's fair to trade a Troll Chant for the expensive Wuju style that just rolled through. And then this curve is still fine, right? This doesn't feel like a huge negative to me. Seraphine only has 1 health, and so she dies to all of our smaller units. She can't get those, value blocks onto House Spider because that trade is gone. And then we still got the strike in with LeBlanc, so that feels pretty good in terms of leveling her up, activating Reputation, and all that nonsense. But here, I don't think there's going to be a reason to play Ash. Saurion was a pretty strong draw. It gets us a strong unit on board, starts to get more of those +1/+1s into the deck, help fight against those damaged-based removal spells. I think it's just fine. This has been my thing with Ash as well, like trying to fit in the proper amount of like flash freezes and have them be relevant. Like as we're trying to play against PNZ based removal spell decks, they tend to just not have units. So she doesn't get the power strikes that she's really looking for. So let's do this. This attack up front should be enough to flip the LeBlanc. Then
Get my squirrel pin. Sing with
I
me.
think we're okay from there. Harsh winds. That's annoying, bro. Oh my god, that's what he fan club presidented. Okay, I was like, I saw it come in and I was like, A, that's fucking expensive, and B, you're not playing Freylord. It's like the fuck did that come from? Oh, fan club president. The card that got sent to Eternal the fastest. Riot is like, oh, that was a mistake. All right, how do we feel about these upcoming turns? I definitely want to have 3 big attackers on the board next turn. It would be nice to get this Incisive Tactician flip as a possibility, or play as a possibility next turn, but I don't think that that's really going to be a thing. I'm leaning here towards just playing Ashe and sending in that way. We're going to get to play 1 unit this turn. And we want to open attack next turn. Ashe. She's not... I mean, she's not necessarily a better open attack than the Ancient Yeti. Like, getting these big Overwhelm units on board is pretty good. I'm just going to take the mana bank. This just doesn't feel right. I feel like we should be getting the Yeti on board and just opening. Right, we have the big Overwhelm with the Yeti and the Saurion. It's just the place where it kind of falls apart is in the mana. And Dragon turns up.
Swiftly now.
I'm sorry, where it kind of falls apart. My concern with this turn is like we make this open attack, and then he has a removal spell for LeBlanc, and we don't get the flip, and we don't get the bonuses. Like if we get to roll into this next turn and have a mirror image, like it's just done. It makes me concerned that we didn't just like go ahead and play Yeti and try and get that get that LeBlanc flip. Now it's like it feels. I don't know, he's been blocking her a lot. It feels like she should be kind of getting out of this turn. Is this a detain? Alright, we can deal with that. We got this big old dragon in hand. This big old dragon's just saying, fuck this noise, I'm just gonna end the game. I'm coming in as a burn spell, bro. Got a Telstone's probably going to go for the heal. We're still right on track for the lethal next turn. Now, my fresh question is, how much do we even care about LeBlanc under this fan club president in terms of now being worried about Seraphine? Like, I think Seraphine is the one we want to take off the board. Like, we can win this game without LeBlanc, right? We don't have to get LeBlanc. We just need to get a couple more points of damage in, but if the opponent gets to untap next turn with Seraphine and then play Sputtering Song Spinner, and then they're able to, stop our attack, there's just a bunch of bullshit that they can do next turn with that Seraphine on the board. To where with this fan club president being on the board, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, I'm not worried about this. And she even gives us a little bit of, kind of surprise factor, if you will, in that if we lose a unit in combat here like Ashe, but kill the fan club president, we'll be kind of ready for an open next turn with that LeBlanc. I think we're good.
I am the Simon Wind. Whoosh!
All right, bro, that's a rally. I did it. I rallied. I'm ready for combat. Would be cool to generate mirror images. Not currently on the table, but it would be cool. Did you all stop to think about this? Did you think about this? What if we put a bone club on LeBlanc? You know, end of story. That's that's all. That's all you need. But there are some kind of like interesting things with LeBlanc and Bone Club, and say like bone clubbing a Omen Hawk and then attacking and getting reputation off of it. Like there's some little combos in here between the bone clubs and the reputation themes. So maybe, I don't know. I definitely need to investigate. The clock is running short, but I like where this stuff is at so much.
The day is young.
Alright, seems reasonable.
On Starlight?
And probably not getting the lethal here, but this is one of these spots I assume he's gonna have to spend a bunch of mana, and then we should be able to get the kill next turn. Okay. So your board is gone. Our board is not. Gonna have to answer all of this nonsense, answer a rally, and then also a mirror image.
Thunder is to die.
Combat. Alright. Drew 100 cards. Good job. Just go ahead and hit that upper right, you know. Go ahead and click on it. Oh, Tom tricking again. Yeah, I bet you got a 1 mana answer in your deck. I'm glad we're looking. I'm glad we're looking. All right, you cast your spells. Good job. On to the next one.
Blooms once more.
Make sure to tell him good job, you know. Yeah, you get good job, bro. Good job.
One step closer.
All right, so victory there. Moving forward with Jax. And one of the things, you know, to kind of press on with this idea of playing the big Omen Hawks deck is you know, as you play against something like Elise aggro, or the thing that comes up more commonly, I should say, is when you play against something like Annie Gen, it's like just having all of those 1-drops is incredibly nice. And as you look at the deck like Ash LeBlanc, it has, you know, the Omen Hawks in it, but then a lot of your early game package is stuff like LeBlanc, which is a shitty blocker, things like Trifari and Glory Seeker, which is a shitty blocker, and you know, as you progress through this event and you're gonna play people on triple aggro, just having access to all of those early game plays can help fight through those matches while still, you know, promoting the theme that you're looking to do. And so, you know, if we really wanted to, say we were able to open with Omen Hawk against this Fallen Feline and the aggressive deck our opponent's playing here. I know opponent's not playing aggressive deck, but in the Elise example, right? If they come at us with Legion Saboteur on turn 1 and we have the Omen Hawk, you can get in there and block and shut it down. But you know, when you start to include this this Forge package, you get the additional blocker and Apprentice. You can play the 2/3 that generates the Forge spell. You just get a lot of options that you can send in. So let's add the birds. You know, I think if he plays a like Seraphine, fine. I think if he had Seraphine, he would have played it last turn. But I think there's a good chance we get to attack with all of our units this round. And if we miss out on a Jax attack because our opponent has Aftershock, I think that's okay as well. He loses out on quite a bit of tempo in this example.
Lyrics just aren't coming to me. Time to find a muse. Whoa, you sound great.
Alright, 5 damage in. Let's see who got those sweet +2/+2 bonuses. See if we get a nice effective unit right off the top. Nope. It's okay. We still have a pretty reasonable build here. The thing that's kind of interesting is these spaces to where you have to just kind of like run out Battle Furies, right? If we really felt the need, we could Battle Fury Jax and then open attack so that he gets the flip. Not going to do that, but you know, if you're playing against decks that don't have the hard removal like Ionia has, bounce spells and stuns, and of course Shadow Isles has stuff like Vengeance, but you can occasionally find yourselves in the space to where it's safe.
Got a whetstone? Gotta sharpen my lamp.
What you got, my dude? Thinking on it hard. I couldn't tell if this was the card that he just generated off of the Inspired Plans. I have to think if it was like a Mystic Shot, he would have just LOL'd it right out the gates. Seal and Steel. Okay. So he obliterated his own unit and lost his Inspired Plans. The big old boy to catch those bonuses on. What up, Saurion? With a bony exterior, belaying its big heart, belying, Belying. Who fucking knows? These reliable steeds are vital for clearing icy mountain passes. Preach it. I fucking hate Hexite crystals. I wasn't paying attention. Did you just naturally draw it? I was too busy reading flavor text out here. But let's go ahead and equip. It's going to get our Jax very close to flipping. I know that this equipment's going to move onto Jax as soon as we play it, but I think that that's okay. It still gives our dude an extra point of health. We're going to have all of these meaty Yetis on the board next turn, and then we should be good to go with the Battle Fury to finish off the game. Seems like we're in pretty tip-top here.
Let's keep that beat going.
Keep that beat going.
Sword, staff, fish, nothing speaking to me.
Alright, combat time.
Let me change up
Oh.
my style.
Missed our click on. I almost didn't get that Saurion attack in there. I haven't done that in a long time. Oof. Alright, big ass attack rolling through.
Got a duet.
You get to see the typical big chain of Ionian spells, but I feel like we'll still be able to finish it off even through a bunch of them. You got it there.
Did my best.
G. All right, final battle. Managed to win a match, so final battle is what you get. You're welcome. Glad to accommodate. Glad to accommodate. Good stuff. I mean, I'm curious how like Gauntlet and stuff are doing. Like this season, it feels like there was much less hype around Eternal than there was in times past. Like it's been a very strange set. The Fates Voyage Onward. It seems like the initial release of Fates Voyage Onward seemed like pretty huge and spectacular, and then it feels like the balance patch and the variety patch didn't quite live up, and so it's been odd. But nonetheless, up in this set, Akshan Udyr is something I'm fine to play against with all of our decks. I do worry about Poros. And I also worry about sea monsters, but I think that we have a lot more opportunity to kind of abuse the sea monsters deck to where Poros is pretty well designed to shut down everything that we're doing. Like as the like the first Poro snacks we can beat, the second one, maybe the third one is pretty off limits, and so. It's just the one that scares me the most, I think. I definitely think that we're going to be unfavored against sea monsters, though. We're going to have to be beating up on Akshan. But I think this gauntlet really shows the kind of main idea that I wanted to bring in this, in the sense that you're going to play against a wide variety of stuff, right? We had the very mid-rangey matchups in the first one. The second one, we're going to have to play against those P and Z decks we were planning to play against. And now in this one, it's a little bit of kind of over-the-top mid-range, if you will. This should be able to beat up on a lot of, let's say, like Demacia decks. This should give a lot of problems to things like Tristana Shadow Isles. And so, it's a reasonable strategy, but we're going to have to face stuff like this. While it's not completely optimal, it seems like it should be fine. If the opponent's even here, it seems like they may have disconnected. Maybe they're out there trying to figure out what Vein Orn is and how many bone clubs they're about to be up against. I'm not certain if they're here, if like just the left deck gets banned or what, but it seems like they're not here. We don't have to take 10 minutes to go through all this. All right, got a nice early unit start. I think I'm going to get rid of the Raider and the Sky Splitter. I'd like to find an equipment to go along with these. And immediately turned up. This is one of those reasons I do like having access to the 9 units and the 9 turn 1 plays in this deck, being able to drop apprentices directly into Darkened Spears and going that way if the bone clubs don't turn up. But I'm pretty confident the opponent isn't here. I'm not certain how long we're going to have to sit through this, but we can just use it as a time to talk about Vein Orn. As we were playing the Jax deck, I start to think, it's like, well, can we move into this space to where we start just playing triple Freylord and stuff? And I have to kind of like keep remembering back to the Vayne Jarvan decks that we play quite frequently in Eternal. And so I start to think it's like, well, this is an equipment-based deck. Vayne Jarvan is an equipment-based thing. Maybe this is something that can work. And then it was in like the first couple of practice games, I was getting to pull off these bone clubs and pull off these cataclysms onto the big overwhelm units, and I was like, oh boy, this is it. This is the stuff. But I'm not 100% sold on the numbers, right? The thing that I still kind of have in my head with this deck is I would like to fit Glacial Saurion into it. You do have plenty of targets for the card draw, and it's one that I feel like there's a chance that we just run out of value just a little bit too easily. And so, you'll occasionally pick up these draws to where it's turn 5 and you already have a Battle Fury in your hand and you have a just collection of big spells. And, having something like Saurion does let you, kind of value through those. But it also, like comparing this deck to the Jax deck, you'll run into a lot of games to where you want to play the Ranger Knight Defector into Bone Club, and you just don't have time to fuck around with a bunch of stuff doing that, right? Making those really high impact 9 mana plays over the course of 2 turns. And so Maybe it's just okay. I don't know. I have to get more matches in.
Ever been to a blacksmith before?
But it seems like this one's going reasonably, assuming our opponent was here, which they don't appear to be. The idea here is Weaponsmith's Apprentice at 2-5 should be more than enough to stop an action for a long time. The only kind of bummer that should come about in this space is if he has... oh, he's back. He's got Secret Keepers. This is not how not how I expected this to be going. But I think we're okay here. We can Ruthless Raider into Bone Club next turn. Have the big attacker on the Raider. I'm going to chip down these stats while we can. And then we need to bank. Get that club on board. So one of the things I didn't mention about these cards, in terms of playing against the control decks of the world, are these, you know, Bone Clubs and weapons do give us longevity, right? In the sense that a lot of our power doesn't come from our units, but it comes from our equipment. And so as we say, roll into turn 6 and find ourselves, you know, needing to Bone Club and Omen Hawk, it's still very high-powered play that we're pulling off here. Look at this guy. Look at this 5/5 Elkin. It's about to eat a Bone Club. I dig it. We've already got the Ornn flip, right? We hit for 8 with the Ruthless Raider, but I can't imagine I can't imagine that Udyr is really happy to see a 10-10 overwhelm or a 10-10 tough on the other side of the board.
The Winter's Claw.
Blessed by snow
Sure.
and stars. This would be a good winter.
Alright, you got a big Udyr. Turns out Udyr, not bigger than our Bone Club Steadfast Elkin, and so sucks to suck, my dude. Ooh, and interesting now, like, not interesting Spirits Unleashed, I don't care about that. We just picked up Cataclysm with the Ornn in hand. We are going to get to pull off this this big Ornn play with the Cataclysm. So which club is bigger? This is a 5/5 Bone Club. This is both are 5/5. I don't remember forging the second one. All right.
Good. Yes.
Hope you're ready to enjoy this, bro.
Fine. Here. Let's get on with it.
Look at this. This is what life's about, my dudes. This is what it's about.
Blessed by snow and stars.
Look at that. He thinks that's gonna be enough. He thinks, oh, what a sad day to be an Udyr. We should be doing this the other way. We should be Cataclysm again to the small unit so that the ram is taking the brunt of this damage. But you know, sometimes you just have to let your dong swing, and that was a pretty big swinging example. Oh shit, this stuff's so much fun. I don't get it, man. I don't get how people sit around and play Seraphine decks and say this is fun. Like, have you just not put a Bone Club on a unit before? I don't know. I don't know what the deal with their life plan is. All right. Back up against Udyr. See what the Bone Clubs can do. So I think another reasonable start. We don't have any equipment to go with this one, but the double Omen Hawk with Yeti in hand seems fine. If he has a very mid-range heavy draw, it might cause us some problems, but I think it's okay. Now we're doing this thing I like to do, to where I'm just going to play double Omen Hawk on the same turn, so that we guarantee our top unit, or our next 2 units get that +2/+2, to where here in this space, if you imagine that this Wild Claw's Ferocity was a unit, it would have picked up +1/+1. And so we would have had one unit with 1/1, the next unit with 2/2, then the next unit with 1/1. This ensures that we get the 2/2 across two of our units. And so, you know, we may not be able to attack in that space, right? If we play Omen Hawk and then he plays Akshan, we don't get to attack, so we can miss out on some damage. But I still think it's pretty worthwhile getting this just giant artisan rolling through. Now our hand kinda sucks. I'm very tempted to just drop the Wild Claw's Ferocity this turn, but like up against Akshan with a bunch of combat tricks in hand, I think we could take it a little bit slow here. Ensure that we can try and give Akshan some trouble if he tries to, you know, get in combat and play a combat trick and play a grappling hook and all that bullshit. I mean, there's even a world. I don't think we're gonna do it, but we could look to Wild Claw's Ferocity on our next turn, or on this next turn, this upcoming turn, and then just play a second one 2 turns from now.
Spirits of the land, hear my call.
I don't think so with Udyr hitting the board, but
Fight or die.
had some potential. Can this Udyr even attack? I'm considering if we want to drop a time and dedication, because we're going to overbank through the turn. I don't think he can attack. He just loses the game, right? He attacks with Udyr, we block with just any of these random 5 attack units, and then what's he supposed to do? Like put a stance and shit onto Akshan? Like that doesn't sound like a winning angle. Alright, squad coming in. So it should be good, right? You got big mountain of overwhelm rolling through. He's going to lose Akshan. He can play some combat tricks and stuff here, but it's nothing that I'm ultimately worried about. Got a Sky Splitter of my own. He's got a Sky Splitter of his own. That's okay. He's got this big Udyr on board, but getting the Akshan taken down is pretty good. I don't think Udyr is going to be capable of actually killing us next turn. He needs 3 stances, right? This is the first stance that he's played. So, it should be tough. He didn't even go for Overwhelm stance. Spell shield, sure. Just I guess you could have like a Shaman's Call, whatever the 6th mana spell is called, and do something that way. Twisted Fate, the fuck did that come out? Came off of his generated unit. Okay. So what do we do this turn? I'm leaning towards Bone Clubbing onto the Artisan and then hitting with the Ferocity. The downside to that play is if he's got a Harsh Winds or something, then we fall behind. We should probably just drop Sari on here. It's not as flashy, but having 4 units on the board capable of a lethal seems okay.
Eyes open.
Bonus stats abound. That's pretty scary. I'll give it that. Yeah, just being in this space next turn to where like we need a unit to come through in combat right? It doesn't matter what unit it is, we just need a unit to be able to deal the damage. Ooh. This is a very greedy Twisted Fate attack. So now, like, we're back to being able to open, right? If he has a Harsh Winds, like Harsh Winds gets the shutdown, we would lose the game to Harsh Winds at this point. I mean, how? Okay. I think we have to add the combat cook. But if we add the cook, we don't have the mana to ferocity. We don't really need it. Like, what's the worst it could do? I guess, like, I can't imagine this deck plays something like Buried in Ice. Alright, just gonna add this guy.
Fighting food and cooking evil. Switch those.
Must be nice living off stolen corn.
That's fairly frightening to see see something like Vagabond hit the board. It's like, oh no, he's still got a fuckload of mana. Alright. It wasn't enough though. GG, well played. Not a bad set of battles. And so, you know, we can pull this line up again and talk about it a little bit more. I think you got a pretty healthy taste of what we're doing here with Bone Clubs, and I like it. I really like it in this format. It just gives us so much raw power to fight through with, and then you get the longevity out of having the equipment. You get the big overwhelm plays coming out of stuff like Wild Claw's Ferocity, and then there's not a ton of interactivity running around that directly fights this kind of stuff, right? There's not a ton of vengeances running around. There's not a ton of harsh winds running around. There's not a ton of things like concussive palm and disintegrates and stuff like that. All the stuff that like really gives you a hard punish for putting a unit on the board, putting a Bone Club on it, and then casting Wild Claw's Ferocity, right? Making that, what is that, like on a 1-drop, that's a 12 mana investment in a single unit. Just the huge punishes for that aren't really running around. And so I'm kind of on board with tripling up on this. It's just, again, like I'm not certain what to do with Ash LeBlanc, if we want to take it down the Bone Club path, or if we just kind of keep it as is, to have a variety of flavors of decks, right? So where we have the kind of go tall Cataclysmy Ornn deck, and then we have the more width-based Overwhelm Jax deck, and then the Ash LeBlanc hitting a little bit differently with the 5 attack matters theme. But I just see stuff like Omen Hawk and want to put a Bone Club on it and say that's how we're going to activate Reputation. And so I gotta get to cooking with that one. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. Had a good time watching. This is Bustin' We. Thank you for being here.